Welcome to Water Quality Part 2. Yesterday we talked about indicators of water quality like clarity and organisms and salinity, and hard water like calcium and magnesium. Today we're going to look at factors that affect the quality of our water. So if we look at the questions you're going to have to answer on forms, most of this you'd be able to answer from yesterday's video, the definition of water quality, salinity, hard water, tests that you can perform to determine whether or not you have hard water, a thinking question about Hurricane Katrina, and then question 5, should you stop and drink water from the clear running stream? Maybe not. Some further information on that, and question 4 as well, briefly describe how changing climate can affect change in water quality. We're going to look at those things today. I'm going to fly through it. You can pause at any time if there's information you need on the screen. There are numerous factors that can affect the quality of our water. These include climate, world population, and land formation. For thousands of years, we found it necessary to control water in order to have it where we want it, when we want it. However, we still have water shortages. An interesting sign here. Beware, no swimming. Yep, okay. Now, there's a YouTube video here that I'm going to skip this time, but it's a very interesting story that you can look up on YouTube on your own, called the Salton Sea. And I'll just show you a quick link to that YouTube video. If you look up a video called The Accidental Sea, it's a tremendous story on an inland sea that was created by accident in California. Um, Turned into a complete water disaster. I'll let you look that up on your own. There's another YouTube video here that you can look up on your own later. I'm going to move on. Part of the reason we run into water challenges, sometimes it's climate, sometimes it's inappropriate water usage. Now, climate seems to be changing more than ever at such an incredible rate. This is likely to impact the availability and distribution of water. These are some ways it's going to affect these regions around Canada on the Pacific coast. As we get warmer temperatures, more precipitation, well, we're going to get more erosion and warmer river temperatures as we get increased precipitation and warmer temperatures around the world. In the prairie provinces, increased temperatures means more frequent drought. Drier southern areas could see a decline in forests. Around the Great Lakes, we get higher temp. That means more evaporation, and we've talked about before that as temperature increases, actually we also have room for less oxygen in the water as well. On the Atlantic coast, the East Coast, we get increased flooding. And one thing we need to remember is that as oceans level increase, we lose freshwater reservoirs because salt water pours into fresh water and then it's not fresh water anymore. So increased flooding off the Atlantic coast could also mean that we have more of that salt water pouring into our groundwater that we use for drinking reservoirs. Here's a picture to show what an increase in temperature can do to a river. And we see this in the Oldman River right in going through our city as well. An increase in temperature can also affect the sedimentation load of the water. As more and more snow and rain falls at higher levels, more sediments and minerals enter the water. We know this when it rains lots, when the river is very high and moving very fast. It's dirty. It looks like this. It will clear up over the winter and over the summer as it dries up and there's less water moving and it carries less sediment. But certainly an increase in temperature can melt more of that snowpack and ice faster. Here's what New York might look like if sea levels continue to rise. So that's a change in climate that can affect all of those things. Now, change in population can affect the availability of water around the world as well. The impact of increased human population is huge, especially when it comes to water usage. As more and more people show up on planet Earth, the existing water treatment system is strained for towns and industries. This can result in these treatment systems discharging wastewater into rivers, streams, and watersheds. This is what it can look like in the freshwater reservoirs that we have as we have more and more people overcrowding the land surrounding these waters. In fact, when we lived in Indonesia, we were told don't eat any seafood that's caught around this island right here because the water is actually so toxic that even the fish coming out of that water are not safe to eat. We end up with increased wastewater. The wastewater mixes with groundwater and freshwater resources, dramatically reducing the quality of the water we need to use and consume. So a couple of solutions to the problem. Let's talk solutions. There's the LifeStraw. Some of you might have this in your backpack. This is sort of how it works. You can read through the fine print on your own. Basically, it's a straw built with a number of filters so that you can drink safely from water that looks like this. LifeStraw. I think they're 10, 15 bucks a piece and probably a good idea to keep in your hiking pack. And then the second video that I'm going to show you, if you do a Google search for that video right there, I'll let you watch that YouTube on your own. It doesn't translate well when I try to show you a YouTube video on a recorded screen. But what's cool about SODIS stands for solar disinfection, is that it's actually a free and safe way to turn contaminated well water in third world countries into safe drinking water. It's life-changing. It's another way that science can save your life. And what it is I'm going to simplify it for you, and then you can do a search for the video. Pouring water into a clear plastic bottle and leaving it in the sunshine for 6 hours. There are two ways that purifies the water for us. Now, thanks Louis Pasteur for figuring out that if we heat up a liquid to a certain temperature, the microorganisms die. So the one thing SODIS does for you in those third world countries where we have very direct sunlight is that it actually heats up the water to a temperature that kills a lot of the microorganisms. The other thing it does, so you have the heat from the sun, but you also have the ultraviolet radiation from the sun, and the UV radiation is also very effective at killing microorganisms. So between the radiation killing the microorganisms and the increase in temperature basically pasteurizing the water, all it takes is a clear plastic bottle to turn unsafe drinking water into safe drinking water. A very, very cool technology that's saving lives around the world. And so simple. Do some more looking into SODIS and take a look through this video, which is super, super cool for a couple of reasons. One, the technology that's so simple and cost effective and it's saving lives. And two, their accent in Zambia is awesome when they speak English. Worth watching. And now you should be able to answer all of these questions on forms, section 1.2. Some of them are thinking questions. You've got to think a little bit, use your own words. Some of them are straight from the video. Feel free to pause, rewind, and I'll see you tomorrow when we start talking about how to get fresh water from salt water. Talk to you then. Have a great afternoon.